Hi there, folks. Welcome back to Rich Reviews, my latest documentary for you guys here now, and this comes from HBO, and this is called Mr. Saturday Night, not to be confused with the Billy Crystal film of the same name that apparently they made into a Broadway thing for just recently. And this comes from Bill Simmons, the music producer and Music Box Films, I think, and obviously Bill Simmons has been making some musical-related documentaries recently. And earlier this year, he made my personal favorite film of the year, Woodstock '99. And lo and behold, he has made another documentary about another legendary person. This time around, it's not a particular concert, it's about a particular person. That person happens to be Robert Stigwood. This happens to be a whole lot of Hollywood lore, not necessarily much depth. But alas, this film is only an hour and 22 minutes, and given the fact that sometimes you can't always cover a person as great as Stigwood is, or any other Hollywood legend in under an hour and a half, that you might think to yourself, is that all there is? And for the most part, I found myself thinking just that. And Robert Stigwood got his start managing bands. He got famous off of that. He helped find the Bee Gees, the Cream, Eric Clapton. At least at one point, he was interested in managing the Beatles or have the Beatles come to him for a management deal. Obviously, that fell through because the Beatles didn't like his particular style. And oh yeah, there's glaring mentions that yeah, he was homosexual, but that isn't really followed up upon because I think this documentary doesn't really want to deal with that all that well. Obviously, there are no talking heads here. It's just archival video recordings of various people over the years. And this documentary sort of wraps up sort of in the early 80s, and Stigwood would sadly die in 2016, so there isn't anything past that particular point, although there was one other thing that he was involved with. Robert Stigwood really knew trends, and obviously he foresaw the rise of disco, and sort of this documentary sort of paints a wholly negative light on Michael Eisner and one other Hollywood executive that, as I said, he knew musical trends and disco was on the rise. And obviously he wanted to get into the movie business and found a company and wanted to sign John Travolta to a 3-picture deal, two of whom would become Saturday Night Fever and Grease. The other one with Lily Tomlin is best left forgotten. So again, a good chunk of this is sort of the lore that helped get Saturday Night Fever off the ground. And obviously if you don't know a whole lot of backstory material, you'd be fascinated by this. I kind of knew the material beforehand of the creation of Saturday Night Fever because, hey, look, obviously the dance moves behind Saturday Night Fever are really awesome. Disco was actually dying in sort of a way because also what we come to learn beforehand is disco was really an underground movement for the gay and sort of African American homosexual lifestyle. It sort of bubbled up to the surface now and again, but never really approached in mainstream appeal until Saturday Night Fever sort of came along. And I guess one of the most amusing anecdotes is that, oh yeah, they originally wanted John Alvinson to direct, Saturday Night Fever. Obviously, he agreed to do the film, but then he came to realize, oh yeah, I hate the Bee Gees songs, I hate the script, I hate all this and that. And Robert Stigwood just approached him one day and basically said, well, I got good news and bad news. The good news is you're being nominated for Best Director for Rocky. The bad news is you're fired from this project. And hey, look, yes, he won Best Director. And then also went on to do basically Karate Kid and nothing much else other than Rocky V, which is less said the better. Now, I obviously learned this right off the bat that the story that is created by Nick Cohn is a work of fiction. Obviously, we hear his voice later on basically saying, yeah, it was a terrible interview. And I made a composite character of many people I knew overseas, this Italian neighborhood where this discotheque was taking place. After the success of Tommy, Jesus Christ Superstar, Saturday Night Fever, Grease, he sadly then went on to do say Grease 2, which less said about the better, although, hey look, Michelle Pfeiffer is always beautiful to look at. He made Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band, and then he just sort of was like disinterested in staying alive, but attached himself to that, even though it had Sylvester Stallone. Obviously, he just sort of went away, and basically, outside of Evita, he just sat on his yacht and did really nothing much else. He collected the royalties from, Saturday Night Fever and what else not. He just sort of laughed himself all the way to the bank, as you do when you're able to foresee a trend and foresee a profit that the studio does not want to be involved in, just like sort of the way that George Lucas was able to profit off of Star Wars and not necessarily 20th Century Fox there. So sadly, in the end, folks, what I'm going to say about this, I'm sort of giving this a Netflix ranking. It's interesting, but it's not very insightful. Although if you think to yourself, okay, this is interesting to myself, so folks, Mr. Saturday Night, have you seen this? What did you think? Please put everything in the comment box below here, folks. As always, folks, like, comment, subscribe, and rate yourself with knowledge. I'll see you next time, folks. Yes, hooray.